With that out of the way, search should work. But how does it display the result? For that, we need to add additional features to the map form that address these capabilities. Before we go into that, let's check out what that means. The ride booking UI plots the path of the ride on the map and includes two tags, one pointing at your current location and one on the destination. The first tag is divided to a time indication and name. The latter only contains the name. Notice that the elements have rounded rectangle shape with a pointy end on one side to point at the position within the path. Let's start with creating these tags. The tag code itself is trivial. It's just a label or a container with some details. Nothing special. Except for one important detail, the black and white border. In order to implement the unique shape of the tag, I created a new border class. Notice I used the preferred width of the west component to determine the black section. This is done in the black line position method. Before we go any further, I'd like to make one point clear. I would have used a 9-piece border. If this were a real application, I would have just cut a 9-piece border and moved on. However, since the point is teaching, I chose to do this the hard way. Before we get into the black and white border, there are a few UI IDs we need to define. The navigation label UI ID is the black on white label that appears in the tag. The only unique thing about it is the relatively small amount of padding, so the tag doesn't take up too much space. The margin is predictably 0, and the font is slightly smaller than usual. The navigation minute label UI ID is the white on black minute value. It's center aligned. It has 0 padding below to keep the text and number close together, but has similar padding on the either sides to match the navigation label. It has 0 margin, and it has a smaller font size than usual, although not a tiny font. The navigation minute desk label UI ID is used for the text below that, the text with the word min. It derives from navigation minute label and has an even smaller font size than that. Now that these are out of the way, let's take a look at the border. Notice we can just subclass the border class just like we can implement painters, etc. This provides a similar path for customization, but is sometimes more flexible. Most of this code is based on the built-in round rect border class. Drawing this type of border is pretty expensive, so we draw onto an image and place that image in cache within the component using putClient property. We use this value as the key. The black line position is used in the version of this border that's partially black. Here we create the border image that we will cache for the given component. Since a shadow is set on the border, and that can take up some processing power, to speed this up, we have two versions of the method, fast and slow. We call the fast one and invoke the slow one asynchronously to update the border. We do a shadow effect by drawing a gradient with varying alpha degrees, then blurring that out. If we have a cached version of the border image, we will just use that as the background of the component, assuming the size of the component didn't change. Otherwise, we create that image and update it later with the slower version that includes the gradient shadow effect. We create the shape of the component. If it's the one with the black line, we place the corner in the top right. Otherwise, we place it in the bottom left. We can now fill out the shape as part of the image creation code. If we have a black line, we do the fill operation twice with different clip sizes to create that effect.